strong feelings about that. I, too, was an addict. I know if I were on a set of a movie, even now, I've recovered for 7 years, we'd have made, if I was coming to a city like LA, we'd have made specific plans that I come in night before or day of performance. Especially if you're still, if you're not, you've gone into proper treatment and gotten really gotten your situation handled. Yeah, that was the first big mistake. For her to come in an entire week before her performance at the party. I'd have never done that.
I was just shocked that it was happening. I was seeing all these pictures of her apparently falling out of clubs and covered in whether it was blood or wine, but certainly the fact that she was drinking in public in these clubs in Hollywood seemed to me a potential recipe for disaster.
It was. It absolutely was. And I stand by that. I stand on that. I stand on that whoever flew her out to perform at that party should have provided someone to be there to somehow just keep the riffraff out of the situation. Just keep some of the dangerous people away.
Was she very vulnerable, do you think, Whitney,
yeah.
even to the end, to that kind of situation?
Absolutely. I'm very vulnerable. As in, you know, I mean, I will never do cocaine again. I know that. But we are sensitive, highly sensitive people, entertainers.
Allison Samuels walked into the Beverly Hilton Hotel expecting to visit with her friend Whitney Houston, as she has done many times before. But instead of hearing from Houston, she heard a frantic knock at the door by Houston's assistant, Lynn Volkman, who announced the singer was dead. Allison Samuels, a senior writer from Newsweek, joins me now from Los Angeles. Please just take us back to that moment when there's the knock on the door. What went through your mind?
Well, I was actually there to do a VH1 interview behind the music. Whitney was also going to follow me in that interview to sort of talk about Brandy for Behind the Music. And I was going to hang around and sort of, talk to Whitney because I hadn't seen her in a while. Then we had a knock on the door. It became louder and louder. We stopped taping, went to the door. Her assistant came in and said, Whitney can't do it. Whitney can't make it. And then she said, Whitney's dead. And, the room just sort of stood still because we couldn't believe this was happening. I couldn't believe it. As someone who had met Whitney so many times, interviewed her so many times, had that feeling just as you had spoken about that this day may come, but I never thought I'd be there at the very time and at the very moment to hear the words that Whitney is dead.
So, Allison, there have been some suggestions, some reports that there were days of erratic behavior before the tragedy of Saturday. What do you know about that?
Yes, there are reports. Many of the people at the hotel told me that she had been sort of skipping around the hotel, doing handstands at the pool, doing all kinds of things that just weren't normal for someone, her age and in her position. So the days leading up to her death, she'd been out that Friday night drinking, having fun with friends, smoking, something that she had said she was going to stop doing to sort of preserve her voice or to get her voice back. So a lot of it led up to, a lot of things I think led up to the eventual event on Saturday where she actually passed away. She'd been, really doing things that she had promised a lot of people that she was going to stop.
You just heard my colleague Piers Morgan talk about this sense of inevitability. You brought it up yourself. At one point, am I right, after an interview earlier in her career, a bit back, it went off the rails a bit, you decided to pre-write an obituary?
Yes, the last time I interviewed her extensively, which is about 6 years ago, she was at the height of her career, really. I interviewed her. She was not herself, incoherent, really, totally, words being slurred. I couldn't understand what she was saying. Totally not the Whitney that I had met so many times before. It was very disturbing to see. And at that point, it hit me. I'm like, if she doesn't get it together, this is going to end very tragically for her. And I felt that just because she was so out of control. And this was over the course of 2 days. I had dinner with her, she was that way, and then I saw her the next day, and she was exactly the same way. And it just hit me that, we're going to lose you very young if you don't get yourself together. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened.
You were, I think, going to go to the Clive Davis party.
Yes.
It was a surreal event where Whitney's body was still in the hotel, and there was this sort of party where apparently half the room were in tears, the other half were kind of partying. What did you feel about that?
I thought that was complete insanity. And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said the show must go on. She was the kind of woman that was stop everything. I'm not going to be there. You know, I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party went on.
I had Clive Davis by pure chance in here on Friday night with Jennifer Hudson, and he obviously worshipped Whitney, and I think he must have gone through agony when he heard this news, knowing it was 2 or 3 hours till this event.
Right.
And I think he took the decision to turn it into a tribute to her. And I understand that. I mean, he obviously was wrestling with the right thing to do.
That would have been right if it really was a true tribute, and and a true tribute, might have been a truer, a more honest tribute in my opinion, would have been maybe call everybody together, let's say a prayer, and let's eat dinner and go home. I couldn't get dressed. I was supposed to go to the party. I just got off a plane from Miami at about 5:30. As soon as I hit the tarmac, I found out. I heard, and I couldn't put on makeup. I couldn't get dressed. I couldn't do anything. I was paralyzed. I couldn't do anything.